Hi family, it's Dr. Tillman here to help provide a little insight on accommodations and modifications. I want to give you the definitions and some examples as we're preparing for testing, BLG 3 testing. I want to kind of make sure everyone is clear. Our new people, even if you're not testing right now, we're going to be testing down the road. So everyone needs to understand the difference between the two and what are some examples to utilize in classroom and on tests. So let's go ahead. Accommodations are changes in how a student learns or demonstrates learning. Modifications are changes in what a student learns or demonstrates in learning. As educators, we need to make sure that our classroom instruction works for all students. We need to make sure that we're tailoring and individualizing instruction to better serve our diverse learners. It makes no difference whether they have disabilities or not. We need to make sure that we're adhering to the IDEA Act, the Individuals with Disabilities Act. If you're not familiar with what that is, please make sure you look that up. We have some students in our class that may need some informal accommodations, not necessarily having to create a meeting and talk with parents and get like the IEP or 504 team, SST team together to do so, but we may see that they have a little need in the classroom and we want to provide some informal accommodations and modifications to better serve them, and that's okay. So as educators, we also know that it's important to get to know all your strengths of your the strengths of your students and their weaknesses or needs. Understand their various learning styles, whether they're a visual or spatial learner, auditory, musical learner, kinesthetic, which is physical, hands-on learner, or verbal, linguistic learner. All right, so we know that we have our EC teacher, Miss Crane Holly, has provided some of you teachers with the contact information with the IEP, the modifications page on Google Drive. So make sure that you go through and you look at that, and if you have any questions, to let her know, let Miss Flynn know. You can let Miss Bratcher and myself know as well. So we're going to go on in to understanding more about the accommodations and the difference between accommodations and modifications. So we're going to go up, and as you can see, I created a list of what an accommodation can be defined as, and it is a provision made in how a student accesses or demonstrates learning. They do not substantially change instructional level content. It does provide students with equal access to learning, provides students with equal opportunity to demonstrate what is known. It is based on individual strengths and needs, and it may vary in intensity or degree. Accommodation also lists that it is techniques utilized to help students access the curriculum. It's strategies that demonstrate what the students learn. It is a method used to alter the academic setting or environment so students can easily access that information. Now, some of the examples include using a book on tape, computer writing programs, tape recorders, calculators, checklists, or dictation of answers. Accommodations do not change the information to be learned, and they do not change the amount of information that's to be learned. Now, modifications does this. Modifications are changes in what a student is expected to learn and demonstrate. So they include changing the instructional level or benchmark, changing the number of key concepts mastered within a benchmark or unit of study, and also changes in content. Modifications also change the content and performance expectations for a student, or what a student should learn. For example, if a student is on third grade level and working on a beginning second grade level, you may adapt fewer concepts or skills to be learned for that unit or concept. All right. Now I've also included an example page of a example IEP modification page, and I've already blued out the student's information. But as you can see, this is what the page looks like when you want to find out what type of accommodations and modifications that the student has. Now, if you look at the least restrictive environment, you can see the different subjects: assembly, health, language arts. It has math, library, lunch, and any other various subjects that the student goes to within the school day. Now, as you can see, for assemblies, they don't require any modification or accommodation in this area, and they'll participate as any other regular or general ed classroom would. Now, in health, you can see they have modified assignments. Now, when you have a student with modified assignments, that's when you really need to know your student, know their strengths, know their needs, and you can adapt it. There's no specific way on how to modify assignments. If you do need help, make sure you reach out to me or any of the EC resource teachers. They can help you to kind of individualize that for that student. But modified assignments could be a decrease in some long assignments. Maybe you have 10 questions and you want to only assign 5 or 4 to that student. That can be an example of modified assignment. Also, read aloud. Now, for how you're going to implement this, your who, what, when, and where, your specifications for modifying assignment, it says longer assignments will be shortened or chunked. Information will be read aloud as needed. All lessons and modifications will be provided by the regular ed teacher in the general ed classroom. And as you can look down, you can see how it's modified for math and for language arts for this particular student. And you can usually find this page around page 5, page 6. It may be 2 or 3 additional pages behind this one, but make sure that you have it on all of your students who have IEPs. And don't forget your 504 and your EL students who may have accommodations and modifications as well. Now let's take a look at an example of a review of accommodations page that you will use during testing. Now, as you can see on this page as well, I blued out the information, students' information. For this particular student, they only have mark in book as their modification or accommodation for this testing. And on this page, you will receive, your 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teachers, you will receive this page during our EOG testing. I know 3rd grade will receive it during our BOG 3 testing this week. So if you just take a look at that, it'll be checked off whatever we need to do to accommodate that student. Under that page, you'll see, and only on this one it says student marking book. So on this column, you're going to put yes that you did provide this, and you're going to write a little statement of how you'll provide it. For this one, you can just say yes, I provided student. Yes, student was able to mark in book. Testing administrator provided opportunity for students to mark in book. Something that simple. And then you will have to sign off. So this is just giving you an example of what to look for testing and for classroom use. And don't forget, with the modification page of the IEP, this is to be used in class, in every class, and you'll see specifications for it, and definitely in testing. Okay, now you can see on this page I've created a little chart that identifies the various modifications and accommodations, and kind of gives you more of an example of what to do. So during classroom instruction, depending on what type of student you have and what their accommodation needs are, it's really designed to help them learn the same material and meet the expectations as their classmates do. You may have to, let's see, if a student has reading issues, you may have to have them listen to audio recordings of a text. Some other accommodations, definitely this needs to be put down for standardized testing as well, include separate setting or small group, read aloud, marking books, sign instruction, extended time, or large print and braille. These definitely need to be used during classroom instruction tests and standardized testing as well. And here on this side, where it talks about modifications, students who are far behind their peers may need changes or modifications to the curriculum. For example, a student could be assigned a shorter or easier reading assignment. Kids who receive modifications are not expected to learn at the same material as their classmates. So we may have to provide them with, if they're, like I said an example earlier, if they're on the 3rd grade reading level, they may have to utilize early 2nd grade reading text in order to get that same information, get the information they need, and get the lesson, completed. Okay, as you can see here, some more examples. Even in enrichment classes like gym or PE, music and art, accommodations for special classes like enrichment can be helpful, and these are similar accommodations to what you do in the classroom as well. Okay, all right, and that's pretty much it for an example that I could provide you in understanding the differences between accommodations and modifications. At this point, if you have any questions after viewing this video, definitely reach out to administration, reach out to our EC people. We are all here to help, and we want to make sure every student receives the information that they need in order to be successful in the classroom.